Hey, good to see you right here on 5 Plus for another edition of 5 Outdoors. This week we're joined by Michael Parker, an outdoor photographer. You do a lot of hunting in the traditional sense, but professionally you do a lot of hunting with cameras, which I think is really cool. I've seen your work and I know the amount of effort you have to put into this is remarkable. So before we dive into some of your photographs and your videos, I'd love to know, how in the world did you find yourself in the outdoor industry professionally? Because that is a dream of a lot of folks.
Yes, sir. So grew up in Little Rock, hunting on the prairie, and fell in love with the outdoors there. So that kind of sparked my love for everything. And so I was in college at the University of Arkansas, and I was fortunate enough to film with another outdoor videographer, and we filmed some pretty cool stuff. We got to film this duck club down south, and we had an amazing hunt that morning, and it was so special. I'd never seen anything like it. So immediately fell in love with it. And so, as soon as I graduated, I started my own business, filming anything outdoors, but also indoors as well.
Okay.
As you know, hunting is seasonal.
Sure.
And so I can't just go film deer every single day.
As much as you would probably like to.
As much as I'd want to.
Yep.
Yes, sir. And so I've been doing some other things, kind of in the off season.
Sure.
But still kind of outdoors related.
Okay.
So, yes, sir.
So where does this content go? I know you've got to sell your stuff at somewhere, but you also post at other places too.
Yes, sir. So I really post a lot on social media.
Okay.
I kind of specialize in short form content.
Okay.
And kind of YouTube videos.
Got it.
So to speak. And so that's where I post most of my stuff. Everything else kind of goes to, whoever's asking for it.
Sure.
And so that's where it ends up.
So I'd imagine you putting that content out there like that exposes a lot of folks that might not ever consider even thinking about stepping foot into a duck blind to the world of duck hunting, of conservation, to deer hunting, you name it. That's kind of encourage you, right?
It is, yes, sir. So, the whole message or, the intent behind my business was to raise awareness for wildlife and land conservation. And so that definitely reaches a lot of people now. And, it's also just great to maybe encourage more people to get into the woods that wouldn't have before. I think that's another great thing. So.
And we see the numbers of active hunters decline every single year. There are fewer hunter licenses sold every single year, including here in Arkansas and Oklahoma. So there needs to be more efforts like yours out there to turn the tide, to make sure the tradition and the heritage stays alive. That's my opinion, right?
I agree.
Okay, so give me a tip, give me a tool. I'm an amateur photographer, but I see your work and I think, oh man, I want to take a photo like that. What could I do better? What could I do to put myself in your shoes?
Well, so, for the type of content I do, if you're trying to go film birds, ducks, you really have to put yourself in the boots of a hunter. And, we'll wake up at midnight and go drive to the boat ramp, launch your boat at 2 or 4 a.m., get to the hole and sleep in the hole till the sun comes up.
Yep.
So it's kind of crazy. It's super competitive. But if you want, the best footage you can get, you want to be like a hunter. You want to go where all the birds are. Sure. And so that's my tip, is put yourself in the boots of an actual hunter.
Okay, so I know there are a lot of birders that watch this segment that might not necessarily be duck hunters, but they might be thinking, hey, I want to go take some pictures of some waterfowl. You got any local spots that might be easily accessible around the area? I'm putting you on the spot here. You don't have to give any secrets away, but maybe a good park or something like that?
For sure. So Beaver Lake is up here. Yep. It has a lot of habitat for, deer, ducks, geese, anything like that. And there's a ton of ponds around here that actually birds have just recently started showing up in. Okay. I know there's a pond right in Centerton. Yep. I went there yesterday, actually. There were about 16 gadwalls sitting on the water. Okay, they're coming. They're coming down, supposedly, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, if you want to just go look at ducks, they're there right now. And anything down south, if you got food and water and cover, they're going to be there. Now,
you've been in the tree stand a little bit lately, bow hunting.
Sir.
Any success thus far this season?
No success yet. I was actually on a muzzleloader hunt last weekend. Okay. And missed a coyote. Okay. So, one of those things you really want to hit, but it was just a little far. So no success on deer.
What have you seen out there so far?
Really just deer and coyotes.
Okay.
Not much else. It's been real hot.
Hot and dry. And
Hot and
I suspect
dry.
that's going to influence patterns to some extent.
It does.
Behaviors, anyways.
It does. The deer really like the cold weather.
Yep.
It gets them on their feet in the mornings. And we've also had a couple full moons that have
Yeah.
gotten them out in the nighttime as well.
Yeah.
So
I saw a picture. Someone took a deer not too far from here a couple of weeks ago, and the thing was covered in ticks. And I just thought to myself,
yeah.
you know what? I think I might wait a few more weeks, let a few of those fall off with some cooler weather. Okay, so you're working in this outdoor industry. I'm incredibly jealous, but I also know that work's work.
yes.
But despite that, there's probably a memory, there's probably an example of a hunt, a photograph, there's something you've done that you think, I'm really proud of that moment.
Yeah.
What comes to
mind? The best hunt comes to mind, and that would be the public land hunt I had last year.
Okay,
As you can see here, that's my dog Luke.
beautiful pup.
Thank you. He's a charcoal lab, and brought him out there with me.
Yeah.
Actually, last year was the first year I brought him out there with me.
Okay,
So he's about 7 now.
okay.
So he's a little older. But I got some of these pictures on that public land hunt, and they're some of my favorites that I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
And I just love them.
What made this hunt specifically so memorable, other than it was the first time you brought him out?
Yeah, so first year I had brought him out, and then me and my buddy, we had a really good hunt.
Okay.
So, I mean, we got in the hole super early, ran the hole at 4 a.m., and just waited there, and
Yeah.
you could just hear him chattering all morning, And as soon as the sun starts to come up, all you see is just birds bombing in the field.
Yeah?
And it was just so cool.
It's one of those beautiful things that you just dream of.
Exactly.
I've kind of found myself having those daydreams lately, just knowing we're getting closer and closer and closer to the season.
Yes, sir.
Despite the fact that we're sweating outside in the
I
middle of the
know it.
afternoon.
I know it.
So you spend a lot of time outdoors in the industry. You've probably learned a thing or two. What has become a passion of yours in this profession?
So I would say the passion of mine is seeing other people get to experience those things.
Yeah.
Either bringing a new friend out or just capturing those experiences for, a father and son to have or something like that, a mentor to have. That's kind of my favorite thing about it. So they can relive those experiences just like I do.
Yeah. Talk to me about conservation. I know that's something that's, whether a hunter realizes or not, is something that is important to us, but you specifically have a mind for that.
Yeah, so, in my mind, if you're a hunter, you're a conservationist.
Right.
You don't have to be super scientific about it, but you know what's good and what's bad for your environment. And, hunting can be good or bad.
Sure.
In a lot of cases, it's good, though. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you could go into with conservation. We're lucky enough in Arkansas to have a ton of public land to hunt, especially down south. And so I think that's great. They do a lot of, Ducks Unlimited does a lot of work in the prairie pothole region.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to preserve some of that habitat. There's a lot of habitat loss going on.
A lot.
Yeah, and so that's kind of a big deal. You got habitat loss, super efficient farming, some fall tillage.
Mm-hmm.
All that affects the birds, and all they want is food and cover. That's
right.
all they want. So,
And we talk about this on this segment a lot. It may be my soapbox. We can control a little bit here. While we can't control a lot what happens in Canada where these ducks go the rest of the year, but we can control habitat here too.
exactly.
And if we can at least do that, when things do turn right up in Canada and they are migrating here, at least we've got a place for them. And at least we got some food for
Yes.
them. Doesn't always mean it's going to be a good year, but we got to do it, right?
That's right.
Well, I got to ask you this. Someone out there is either wanting to take better photos or maybe they're just wanting to find themselves in this outdoor industry, which around here in Arkansas is thriving.
It
and
is.
booming by the day. How do you get involved?
Yeah, so Arkansas is the natural state. Just go outside.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go out here is just absolutely beautiful. Whether you're in northwest Arkansas, east Arkansas, or even down south, I would say just get outside and bring your camera wherever you go. That's what I've learned. You can't take a picture of anything if your camera's in the house or in the truck. So
Sure.
just bring it everywhere you go and get outside, and you're bound to see something pretty.
So where can we find more information on the photos you take as well as your social handles?
Yeah, so everything on social media is just Michael Parker Outdoors. That's all my social media accounts: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. YouTube has some longer videos, some
Okay.
hunting videos, and some other stuff like that.
Awesome.
And then my website has a ton of information about me, and it has a lot of content on there as well.
Very cool. Awesome. We'll link to those in this article over on 5newsonline.com. That's going to do it for us for this edition of 5 Outdoors. We'll be back next Saturday with an all-new edition. Until then, we'll see you right here on 5 Plus.